What's up, house groups? Thank you so much to all of you who served on Sunday as part of Reach Des Moines. It ended up being a really great day, and all the organizations we partner with, we're super grateful. So, way to go. You guys are awesome. And tonight, since we didn't have services on Sunday, I want to shift gears a little bit from our norm. We're still technically in the Ecclesia series, looking at the early church at the beginning of Acts, but we're also smack dab in the middle of Lent. Now, I don't know how familiar all of us are with the season of Lent. Those of us who grew up Catholic or Lutheran are maybe more familiar than the Free Church or Baptist or other Protestant crowd. But for what it's worth, the word Lent comes from the German word Lenz, which is a term for spring. And it got attached to the season of Lent in the church because Lent occurs in the spring, at least in places that aren't like Iowa, where the temperature randomly drops 30 degrees in a day and it snows in the spring. But no matter how wintry-like or spring-like it is outside, Lent is comprised of the 40 days, not including Sundays, that lead up to Easter Sunday. And for the better part of the last 2,000 years, Lent has been observed by the church as a season of intentional preparation of our hearts, minds, and souls for the celebration of Easter. And if that preparation could be summed up in a single word, the word would be penitence. I know for many of us, the word penitence might conjure up some negative images of trying to do all sorts of things to earn forgiveness, saying the appropriate number of Hail Marys or something. But penitence is actually a word that describes a feeling of deep and mournful sorrow over our sin. And when I hear that definition, it makes me wonder, are we deeply mournful and sorrowful over our sin? Are we really? Because if I'm being totally honest, I think we spend more time trying to hide from our sin or cover up our sin so that no one finds out about it than we do openly confessing it and being sorry. So many of us come to church, sing a few songs, listen to a message, check off the boxes, and go home. And we'll admit that we're imperfect, but there are major issues in our lives that get neglected. And if we're honest, there ends up being a disconnect, not just between us and God, but between us and the people around us because of the hurt that they've caused us or we've caused them. And traditionally for the church, the penitential season of Lent has been marked by a focus on our sorrow for sin, leading us toward reconciliation in our relationships with God and the people around us. Lent is a time of seeing to it that relationships get set right. And I think deep down when we hear that, and we know that getting right with the people around us is necessary for Jesus' sake. Because reconciliation, this act of bringing back together something that was broken apart, is so much a part of the life and mission and way of Jesus. But even though we know that, we don't always want to do it. I don't anyway. Reconciliation is emotionally difficult, it's frustrating, it's intimidating, and often the person or the people we've been cut off from don't even seem to notice or care in the same way that we do. So, even if part of us recognizes that to be like Jesus in the middle of our world means doing something about our broken relationships, we hesitate. Because sometimes the junk that exists between us and God or between us and the people around us, sometimes it's dirty and gross and powerful and toxic. And I get it. I remember once when our kids were little, we took them for a walk to the park by our house. And the twins were just a couple months old, so we had them strapped in front of us in the little baby Bjorn things. And it was this nice normal day at the park. I was pushing Emma in the swings when I felt something warm on my stomach, abnormally warm. And so I reached down to feel for something and immediately realized it was wet. And I pulled out my wet hand and it was brown. And it was then that I knew my kid had just had a massive blowout while strapped to my chest. And you all know I'm just a little bit of a germaphobe. And so as I walked home, I felt it with each sloshy, warm step while dreaming of bathing in Purell. I was emotionally cut off from Billy because there was literally something dirty, gross, powerful, and toxic that had come between me and him. And that stuff, it happens when you have babies, but it happens figuratively in our relationships all the time. And here's what I want us to understand tonight. We cannot be right this way, with God, if we are not right this way in our relationships with other people. Because trying to be right here and not here is missing the point of Jesus. Jesus came to set things and people right and to take away all the stuff that's kept us from living the lives we were created for. And we were created for connection with God and with one another. In 2 Corinthians 5:14 through 21, Paul writes, "For Christ's love compels us because we're convinced that one died for all, and therefore all died. And he died for all, that those who live should no longer live for themselves, but for him who died for them and was raised again. So from now on, we regard no one from a worldly point of view. Though we once regarded Christ in this way, we do so no longer. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone, the new is here. All this is from God, who reconciled us to himself through Christ and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. That God was reconciling the world to himself in Christ, not counting people's sins against them. And he's committed to us the message of reconciliation. We are therefore Christ's ambassadors, as though God were making his appeal through us. So we implore you on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God. God made him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God." All right, so Paul tells us because of what Jesus did, because of the power of his death and resurrection, we can be reconciled to God, and we can also have a ministry of reconciliation, preaching and exemplifying that same reconnection and healing of a relationship that was broken to the world around us that we received from God. And it's just such a cool way that Paul says it, because he keeps using this word over and over again: reconcile, reconciled, reconciliation. And it's actually a really common Greek word. It was used in banking and business to talk about repaying a debt you owed somebody so that things were square again. And it was frequently used in cultic religious texts and in the philosophy of guys like Plato and Aristotle to talk about mending broken relationships. Because as long as there have been people, like since Adam blamed Eve for making him eat the fruit in the garden, there has been conflict between people. All right, so Paul uses this really common word, but he uses it in an uncommon way. See, everywhere the word had ever been written before, like ever in human history, the person who owed the debt was the subject of the action, and the person who was owed, the one who'd been hurt, or the gods, were the object of the action. It was a word about earning your way back, earning the favor of these cultic gods. It was about what you did. And then Paul came along in his letter to the Corinthians, and he wrote this verb in passive voice for the first time in human history. And he introduced the idea that reconciliation is not about what you do, it's about what God does for you. And in fact, it's not about anything you even can do at all. Paul goes, check it out. You can't fix what's broken. You can't bridge that gap. You can't remove all the sin that's cutting you off from God or from the people around you. Only God can. So he does it, and you receive it. God is the reconciler for us. He's the one who sets things right. He's the one who removed sin through Jesus. And we, Paul says, we got to send that message to the world. We have to live out that kind of reconciliation for the people around us so that they can see God in us. We are his ambassadors. And that's not easy. It's not a simple assignment, not by any stretch of the imagination. Like, first off, it's not easy to admit we're desperate for Jesus because we can't earn forgiveness. We can't pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps and do anything that earns our way back to God. We just have to passively receive his reconciliation. And secondly, it's not easy to look out there at a world full of people who have wronged us, hurt us, abused us, and used us, and set our pride off to the side, just like Jesus did, knowing that we have to forgive them because we've been given a ministry of reconciliation to those people. I love the way the church father Clement of Alexandria said it. He said, "For the sake of each of us, Jesus laid down his life, which was worth no less than the entire universe. He demands of us in return our lives for the sake of each other." You guys, God is calling to us right now during this season of Lent, saying, hey, I did this for you, but I didn't just do it to get you to me. I did it to get you to each other. We are made to be reconciled, reconnected to God, and have a ministry of reconnection to our world. Because when that happens, when both our vertical and our horizontal relationships are set right, we're able to live the lives we were created for and experience the fullness of God's design and his image in us in a way that not only allows us to be more fully alive, but allows us to bring his message of hope, love, and forgiveness to our broken world.